welcome to Old Ways Gardening and Prepping. My name is Teresa. I'd like to welcome you on an adventure with me. I'm a little tired, been riding the bus and hoofing it. It is the night of the Herb Society meeting, so let's have some fun. It's going to be a bonus 2 workshops, so let's have some fun and do some looking and learning. Hope you enjoy. Oh, the beautiful artwork. I love this one. The colors are beautiful. Oh, here's a pretty one. There's a pretty one. So much. There's an interesting one. Trying not to breathe heavy in the camera. That's an interesting turkey. Oh, I know what leaves those are. That's a house plant. Interesting. Okay, time to head in.
To start seedling. And then when you have a little knowledge, and it just takes a little bit, you'll tell your family, and then you'll tell your neighbors. And so I started seedling probably.
I saw it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Think about you a lot.
I appreciate it more than you know.
So I probably started seedlings when it was a lot. Because all of a sudden I'm looking and it's like, there's no lettuce at the store, right? And I'm like, I eat a lot of lettuce. There's no, and they're talking about, there's no produce. And all the produce is going up in price. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And so it started to become intentional, because I've been gardening for intentionally. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to really do this. So there's really not much needed in sprouts. You could use a windowsill. It's warm if there's sun coming in, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to get more serious, there's a couple things you could use. You could use a flat table, and I got myself a table. And you could get yourself a grow light. And I have a source for it, and it's called spider lights. And the spider lights, I really like.
I'm sorry. I didn't see you basically back up.
And I like the spider lights. So oh sure, appreciate it. Thank you. I like the spider lights because they're from marijuana growers. So they're LED. So they usually have really powerful lights, but they have one line, two lights that are for vegetable growers. So it's not like going on Amazon and you hope you get something and the plants are still leggy. And that's what's happened to me in the past. So I finally found one where I'm thinking, okay, they're still a little leggy, but I've got those lights LED, really strong, and they're not that expensive. They go on sale pretty soon. It's spiders, and it's on the bottom. And I just wrote down possible light source because I don't, because you may find something that you like better. I don't know. This is what I've done. The other thing, the warmth comes from the bottom, and so I went ahead on Amazon and I bought heating packs. I didn't start out that way, but I'm learning. Slowly but surely, I'm learning. You could also use the fossil fuel Mine doesn't work. I didn't have any of those options.
Okay.
So it was like maybe $50 to use right there. And I put that So on Amazon, they had a heating pad with a thermostat. So it cuts off when it hits 70 bucks. It doesn't spoil your seed. Yeah. So the first thing I did was in the first lockdown, which was the year of 22. And I decided I was going to have and I love YouTube for teaching. And I was watching these channels all over the place in the Philippines. And they were teaching the crack tea method. Crack tea. And that's a man's name who is a university professor, I think at the University of Hawaii. And basically, you have to understand the Filipinos are poor. They don't have a lot of money to spend on stuff. So they really work on it. So these are fish boxes from Kroger. I had to line them because I found out that some types of starches. Okay. Then I used a hot thing to cut out the sides. And these things are available on Amazon. Pop them in. So I figured out how many I could have. Now there are two ways of what you can put in here. You can put in rock wool. And I thought rock wool you can use 6 times, or you can put in dirt. And I thought, well, the dirt's gonna cost me. So I got dryer lint. My dryer lint is wool or cotton. That's basically it. So I put that in the bottom, filled it up with dirt. And then I put seedlings, which I didn't really. So what did I do? At the same time as there was a lack of vegetables at the store and a lack of lettuce, there was also a lack of seeds. So I'm sure you heard of this that year. There's a lack of seeds. You go to Lowe's and they don't have the seeds. And so I learned this from the Filipinos too, and they're all speaking Tagalog, and I don't understand the word. But I'm watching hour after hour, and I'm thinking, if I watch close enough, I'm going to figure this out. This is what they use, and I'm using this also. So these are sprouting trays for having sprouts, like bean sprouts, right? So I put a layer of dirt in, then I sprinkle my seed on top, and I put like plastic wrap over it, but it's wet. The dirt's wet. The dirt is nice and wet. And if it dries out, I can go ahead and spray it with water. And then I put plastic wrap. And if it's good seed, it'll sprout in 4 days. And then since I am lacking in seeds, because we don't know if there's going to be a seed or not, then I take out each one and I plant it. I use a tweezer and a chopstick at each one. So these are single seeds that came out of here that I put in there with a chopstick when they were big enough when the blue. There's a special name for the 2 first leaves that pop out. When those were so
Every seedling looks like those two too almost.
yeah.
So you have to wait.
So I labeled it. Everything's labeled. So the other important thing is that you have reliable seed. And that's a hard one in the United States. I'll just tell it. The seed that you purchase in the United States is usually swept together on the floor. They're the floor seeds. And I saw that when I was doing lunch. So I'm purchasing it from this company. They have a representative here in the United States. And their seeds are called Grow Italian. And I have that down also. Grow Italian. And so they import the seeds. And when you get the seed packet, you get a bunch of seeds in there. And they're quality controlled. And they come from the Venetian Florence area. So that's humid and hot, just like we've got it, right? So, for instance, I would put some of this company's seed in this for lettuce, and then I would use Baker seeds, which has a good reputation. They didn't come up until 10 days. where the these came up in 4 days. Huge difference. And the price was extremely reasonable. Like I can get 2,000 lettuce seeds for like $5, $6. It's absurd. It's absurd. You know, I love this company. I love them. I do. I bought everything from them possible, unless it's something that's really weird, like
Is that the word you were trying to think of? Because I couldn't say
yes,
it. I
it's
wouldn't be able to say
wonderful.
it.
Coated.
Codalines. Yeah, I wouldn't ever come up with that.
Okay.
Sorry.
So having reliable seed is really important. Because even when I did baker seed, I have, oh, there are 5 of these, but this one looks weird. Where did this one come from? They weren't true. I've never had that problem here because they're much stricter about having no MGOs, no, it's a family that's been in business for over 100 years, and that's what they do. And I just really like them. So good seed.
So
Now,
approximately when did you
these are
start these?
3 weeks old.
Okay.
3 weeks. Okay, so I went to Lowe's last week and I looked at tomato plants. They're big, right? I don't know if you've been looking. They're $5. Potentially here I've got 100, $150 worth of plants. I'm not sure. Are we getting the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to grow vegetables when we seed them for a fraction of the cost. Now, some vegetables prefer to be direct seeded, but you can still work with them. Like, you wouldn't do that with carrots necessarily, but you could. Now, I have used this mostly, and so when I start them, I will use a fork, and I try to get a fork with longer prongs, metal fork, and I'll just go in there, pull it out, and plant. And it holds the seed ball together. It's not like you have to push through with your finger or cut through. So that's worked out for me really well, and I've been able to reuse this. These are not that expensive. This is expensive. This comes out of England. And this is Robert Dow's. And you can see here, plastic wheel that sets them down, pushes them. This is not necessary. Just like this works. This works. Okay, the toilet paper rolls, they work. I don't break them because it's small. Why use something small for a small root ball? But look how well it's doing.
Yeah.
So it's whatever container you find at your home. All right. So now, if you're planting a larger garden, it really makes sense to do your seedlings. But also, the Memphis Library, the Germantown Library, maybe the Bartlett Library, they have seed libraries, right? Where you can go and get a couple of seeds. You don't have to go and buy 2,000 lettuce seeds. But I'm glad to buy 2,000 lettuce seeds for $6. I'm going to eat on them for a long time. I keep planting them. All right. So these were from the Garden Warehouse. I'm going to have to look it up. And if you, it's just like this from Garden. Yeah. So here it is. Greenhouse Megastore. And this comes in different qualities. So I did get the quality that's hardier because I carry them around. And then I also went to Target and bought little boxes that were for schools. If I have a smaller amount, I can put everything. So you're just going to be adaptable. You're going to figure this out. It'll be good. And these little things, well, I went by a place where the landscapers were putting in pansies, and I go, "Can I have all your boxes?" I said, "Yes, I got them all because I knew I was teaching this class, and I'm going to need them." So, and then I went somewhere else. It was a social. And they had these cups, and I go, can I have the cups? And I didn't wash them. Put holes in them, so that's great for seedlings too. Okay. Now, when you seed inside, you are avoiding hazards like harsh weather, right? Hail, rain that beats down. You're avoiding bugs, usually. I've had some bugs this year. Diatomaceous earth now, so it's not been happy. Lastly, also, extremely important, you can get more food out of your square footage if you do something called succession planting. Succession planting. So right now, I have kale growing in the garden, onions, garlic, lettuce, and I put out some peas. Well, I know that when I harvest that, the tomatoes are going in on the same piece of ground, right? So I can keep turning it. I can have 3 different harvests. Spring, summer, fall. And some of the fall things will grow right through the winter in our land. So for instance, I've been growing kale. I put it in September as a cover crop. And I'm eating my cover crop. You got about bacon. Oh man, that's good. So those are things you can try. All right, so succession planting is very important. Why would you have seedlings? You will never find this tomato at any of your local places. None of these cultivars are available here. And some of these have been growing for 100 years in Italy. And they're working. They're true. They're heritage. You can save the seed. And we're going to have a workshop on seed saving. So you look plant things that you can't get locally. But that would make sense to have seedlings for that. And you can share. Because today I plan to share. Yeah. So I want you to take it home. I want you to grow something. It's really important. All right. You can also get an earlier yield by starting inside. So your first tomato may not be July, it may be June, it may be May. Just by starting things inside. Same thing with the legs, right? And when you plant inside, you're using less water, less fertilizer, less work. Now, this is my wonderful story, and I have it on my phone. I have pictures of lettuce growing, and I mean, it was like, wow, lettuce. It's in December. Husband and I go on a trip. We've got the lights plugged in with a timer. The heating pads are underneath. This is the year we had the terrible frost that killed all the bushes outside. We went on a cruise. We've never been on a cruise. We went on a cruise. Came back and kept eating lettuce. It didn't stop. We were gone like for 5 days. It took care of itself. We came home. We kept eating until March. We ate in March. So these are all beneficial things that you can do to help yourself. Okay. You also, so you're saving on water, you're saving on labor, you're saving on fertilizer, and you're reducing your germination loss. Because I know when I put seed out, and I'm thinking, okay, I see my carrot looking pretty good. I come back, what's that bird doing there? And they're pulling them up because it's a very nice appetizer, isn't it? Or you don't have the water exactly right. You didn't put the board down. So you have much more control that are inside. Okay.
But it was really neat.
I want you to feel confident by experimenting. If you don't do it yourself, you'll never figure it out, right? It's got to be a hands-on thing. So, do you have any questions?
No, fertilizing that. If you're 3 weeks old.
Okay, so I just purchased my soil from Costco.
Okay.
And they had it on sale for $8 for a big, huge bag. And it goes off of sale on Saturday.
54.
It's
Miracle with compost.
Miracle Grow
With compost.
in it, right? So the first week
10 bag
I
limit.
didn't do any. This week, for the first time, I added a fertilizer mixture that I used for the This is passive hydroponics, where you don't do a thing. The water sits there, nothing moves. You just make sure that the water level, that the roots are reaching the water. And when you have the right plants, the water goes down and the roots grow with the water. You don't have systematic. If you have the wrong cultivar, like I did this year, which was miniature, I had to keep adding water. Don't do that. It does better with romaine lettuce. So the mixture is 1 gallon of water, 1 teaspoon of master, half a teaspoon of Epsom salt, and a teaspoon of calcium carbonate. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so
Yep.
much. Yes. I have it on my phone somewhere. And you just mix that up, and I just pour it in. And that's why I love these things with the bottom. There's a hole, and I just pour it. And so like I poured it yesterday, so now it's gone. And I knew I couldn't pour too much because I was putting down here. And you don't want all this stuff dripping. Pull it out.
So you don't water from the top.
Yeah, and tomatoes really don't like it. So there's some places in the world, like in Austria, they'll have their tomato patch, and then they build a canopy, so the rain doesn't hit the tomatoes. And then they water it with water. Just because it damages, it causes disease, they just don't do it. Yeah, any other question? Yes.
How do you transition from growing inside to outside? Like, do you harden your plants off and slowly integrate them outside?
I will, but I'm gonna wait. The tomatoes are probably gonna go out at the end of April. Probably, unless something happens with the weather. I just will watch the weather. And then I have some that are sprouting up outside in the garden beds from tomatoes that fell down. And that gives me kind of a feel, things are going pretty good. I can take these ones out too, right? So just by watching and just doing a lot of watching. Yeah, just go and not being scared to try. Just do it. Why not? Say it again.
Will you bump up again into a bigger pot? Or
No,
will you leave it like
I'm going
that?
to take it straight outside. This is what they're selling at Lowe's, right? This pot. And so what I'll do is I'll just lay them on their side. Does anyone have questions about how to raise them?
Going to.
Okay, so you lay them on their side, and I have a few seeds on Hasbro potatoes. Now, if you go to the Grow Italian website, they have a how to grow things, and this is on their website. And don't we know that the Italians know how to grow tomatoes? They have the best tomato sauce, the best tomatoes. So just go there and look on the different things, the different cultivars, and just download that page. And I think you'll be real happy about that. All right. Now we're coming. Why do you do it on the side? So if the stem is really long, like this is really a long stem, right? So you're gonna lay it down in the dirt like this with just the top peeking out. And you're gonna put dirt all along. And roots are gonna come out here. And this is going to grow up. So you have a stronger plant because your roots come out all along the sides.
Always wondered that. Okay.
Yeah,
Buried tomatoes.
yeah, bury your tomatoes.
It's called trenching.
It's kind of like a mud bath.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said a couple of things, water from the can and buried on the side.
It's called Master Mix. I did get it off of Amazon, and afterwards I will try to find it in my photographs because I have it on here. I did not bring a laptop with a slide thing, but that's another day.
When she asked about, sorry, about hardening going back outside, do you set them in these containers out on the patio maybe for a little while, let them adjust to the temperature change, or you just put them straight out in the dirt?
It depends on the weather and how big they are. Is the weather so bad that I've had to keep them in such a long time? But a day or two just to put it outside, like in the sunshine, and then bring it in again, wouldn't be harmful at all. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to invite each of you to take one of these tomatoes, maybe two. I don't know how many people we are. So there are two kinds of tomatoes. This one is the one that they sell the most of.
Which one makes the better mayonnaise?
Maybe this one. I think I may have enough for everyone to take one of these. It looks like that to me. Okay, so I want you to take it home. I want you to talk to the tomatoes. Really, to tell them how much you appreciate it and that you want them to grow and you need tomatoes this year because we're having inflation, right? Food prices are slipping up, so you're gonna grow some tomatoes. In addition, we have an experiment here. Okay. So I found the cups and I thought, oh, this is great. We're going to do this. Yes? So this is the mix from Costco. Dirt. There's a little slip in here that tells you if you don't like okra, we're in trouble.
Some folks love the blues, so if you don't,
It's in the
Absolutely
hibiscus
love
now.
okra.
So if you don't have a big garden, you can plant it in your front flower bed, right? So there are enough seeds in here to put some in the cup and to put some directly sown. Okay? Now with the okra, it tells you kind of how to do it. The first thing you need to do is soak them in water overnight. If you wanted to go a little faster, you add a little bit of hydrogen peroxide. And this was what helps all your seeds if you want them to go a little faster. Not too much because you don't want the hydrogen peroxide to eat through. Just enough
I have a
to
question.
soften up the
Is that to soften the
Yes.
seed?
Yes,
Oh,
and
okay.
add oxygen. Yes.
And I was gonna say, like, how much per gallon of water would
I
you
would-
use?
Personally, I would put, they're like 9-10 seeds. So I'd take a cup of water, half a cup, and I just put a few drops in,
Oh, okay.
half a
Couple
teaspoon. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to kill it. Just a
a
little
little
bit.
goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit
Kind of like
goes
putting
a long
blocks in the water for your Christmas tree, it pours up and
Something like that.
you dry out.
Yeah. So I invite you to pick. Yeah, and I don't have, but I have some bags, but not a lot. And I invite you to pick one of these, two of these, and take them home. And what I'd love to hear from you is success on Facebook if it worked out, right? Is
Okay.
that fair?
Yes, that's fair.
All right, because I want to hear it, that you got something growing at home. What's the name of this tomato? They're on the plate, and if you go to the Italian website, they'll tell you exactly, and it's written down in the description. In here, so for this one, there are 300 seeds per packet, and we're like $5, $6. Awesome deal, awesome deal. These, these are red pears. These sprouted immediately. They were both set in at the same time. These were wow, these just jumped out of the blue, jumped out. So it's a beefsteak heirloom type from Florence, Florence, Italy. That's humid, that's hot, like we have it here. Slightly flattened fruit, outstanding taste, 75 to 80 grams, large, vigorous, indeterminate plant, good production. This makes a really nice sauce. Also, especially the quickly cooked type. You gotta take one of these. You just gotta. Yeah. So the other one is called red pear, and that is an old northern Italian variety, especially selected by this company. It's a red pear-shaped beefsteak, an outstanding producer of huge, that's 8 to 18 ounce tomatoes. Very tasty fruit, great fresh eating, early for such a large plant, 70 to 75 days. This is not the small pear-shaped tomato called red pear by the U.S. seed company. Pear-shaped vertical ribs, a must-try, really meaty, containing few seeds, indeterminate. These are orphans. They need to go to somebody's house.
Yes, we got them.
All right. So please just pick what you'd like. And when we get down to this whole part, we can get to that. And they're all labeled. Well, I really hope that you have a lot of success. This is, if you guys have success, that's the most exciting thing that can happen. Seriously. Rainy. Like rainy. Yeah. And be sure to
Is this the Miracle Grow salt?
yeah, from Costco.
Don't get mad at me.
That's okay. I'm sorry. I'm not mad at you. You don't have to take it.
No, I'm just saying.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. They're supposed to be with compost. This one's supposed to be with compost. Did you let them? Oh, okay.
That's one reason why I'm putting it back.
Oh, there's
I
one.
just wanted to make sure first.
Oh, let me swap with you.
There's one. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
There's one more thing I forgot to tell you about. This is an expensive way to make, expensive for the first time, where you can make your own.
Yeah,
Seedlings.
Oh,
the soul block.
not necessary. You can use a styrofoam cup. That works too.
No, I was just gonna share with you. For the first time I'm doing something kitchen floor.
Okay, we'll see if everybody has one. Our chickens are stirred. Would you choose one chicken, please? Eli? Okay. The last four digits are 5979. Please come forward and choose your door prize. They're here on the end, including these 4 mint plants that Reni brought. A couple of special cookbooks, a gardening book, honey, Pinsies, gift, and some butterflies. Pardon? Okay, Bridget. Okay. All right, this one is 5976. 976. Lucky winner, come and get your prize. All right, Christina. The last 4 digits is 5974.
Me.
Please come up to us and choose your gift. And they are 5980. If that person would come up and select a gift. All right. And this lucky winner is 5969.
We got some alpine milk.
This winner is 5978. Okay, well. $5970. Oh, it's one of you, I know. Someplace on the and that lucky winner is 5975. Where are our winners? This is very rare. This one. Yeah. I was getting
Oh, come on now. It's
okay, let's see.
it's not alpine mint, it's apple mint. I thought it was Alpine Mint. It is Apple Mint. Well, that ought to make Junior happy.
Oh, and don't forget that we have the sunflowers up here, so anybody can get that anytime.
So they're friends, supply for some, ready on, galore, ready
Winner 5981.
I started with
5981, yes.
Anything.
Put them in an espresso.
5973.
right here, right here.
Yes.
So that is, I came up here.
How are we doing? I don't think everyone's.
I would, but.
And this number is 5958. Yes. Your letter is. It's okay. Yes.
You have another person who never got called.
What's now?
Who's got your ticket?
I'm sorry, I can't do more prizes. There aren't any more.
Free sunflowers.
I have an idea. There are some okra seeds in the back. If you would like some of those, they're in the back in a plastic cup with instructions on how to plant it. Well, that's fine.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes. All right, so I'd like to welcome all of you, and I'd like to give a special welcome to our new members, and I do believe. How? Turn. So does this mean I'm not loud enough?
Correct.
Yes. Oh, good. We'll hang out.
This is my good ear though.
Thank you. Well, we'll see. Aha. All right. So welcome to all, and I'd like to say a special welcome to our new members. Would any of you like to stand up and introduce yourselves? No pressure. All right. Can we begin?
Hi everyone, I'm Bridget. I joined just about a month ago. I just moved a few months ago from Oakland, California, so I'm excited to learn how to grow here.
Oh, it's been yay. Yay. Yeah.
My name is Sharon Barnes. I'm a farmer, master gardener in Memphis, and joined in December or November. Never came since then.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Master gardener, that's awesome. Okay. Yes.
You let him get away.
Where'd you get beautiful?
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, Jody Cockcroft, I just joined today, so.
Great. Thank you. We're glad you're here.
John Black, my first visit, glad to be here.
Oh, nice, nice. Glad you're here. Anyone else?
Don't always.
Okay. I'd like to thank everyone who brought food. Our budget does not have money in it for food. So when you bring things, we have things. When you don't bring things, we don't have things. So it's been really fun to see some of the different offerings today, especially from foraging. I love it. Yeah, so that gives us something to think about, that we can be more creative with what we cook with and what we eat. Now, Augustine, you're here with us today. Did you have a few words to say, or not this time?
No, not this time.
Not this time, okay. But Augustine Diaz is the curator of the Memphis Botanic Garden, Herb Garden. Okay, so keep an eye out for him. And I know he's going to be needing our help in April, is my guess, because the herb garden is being redone and many hands will make it much easier to plant the new cultivars that are coming into line. Okay. You've seen the financial report that Ginger prepared, and we're sorry that she's not here today, but
They're having some health issues at her house. We do need volunteers. So there's going to be a questionnaire that will be emailed tomorrow. We're looking for volunteers in all sorts of ways, because that's how every nonprofit, society, club works, right? Many hands make it work well. So if that's something you would be interested in, we would love to have you join as a volunteer. You're ready here as a member. All right. Now, our guest speaker is Kevin Lewis. And so he's part of that, or originator of the Facebook group of Foraging Mushrooms in Memphis.
Memphis mushroom foragers.
Thank you. Memphis Mushroom Foragers. By a show of hands, who has foraged for mushrooms? All right. So it's not all that unusual, right? We have a few, and we're still alive. We ate them. Okay. Well, we have a lot to learn, so let us begin. Thank you.
How y'all doing today? Can everybody hear me? Do I need the mic? If everybody can hear me, everybody says I'm pretty loud anyway. My voice does kind of carry. Lately, there's been a big trend in everybody getting out into the woods, looking for mushrooms or something else to put in their belly. Blackberries and the different bramble bushes are an awesome source. But a lot of people don't know how to get started, where to get started. They're fearful of, is this mushroom going to kill me if I eat it? A lot of people just don't understand what mushrooms are. A lot of people are just scared of them being portrayed badly in the past. But to start out, what is a mushroom? Mushroom is not a vegetable. It's not a plant at all. They're actually more related to animals than they are to plants. You ever tasted a mushroom and thought, well, that's a meaty mushroom? You don't bite into a piece of broccoli and say, oh, that's a mighty meaty piece of broccoli. But mushrooms are more related to people and animals than they are to vegetables. The thing is if there were no mushrooms, there would be no trees. If there were no trees, there would be no mushrooms. Everything fits in society. Everybody has their first mushroom is the mushrooms that they sell in the store, and there are many, many, many more mushrooms than just what they sell at the Kroger's down the street. The mushrooms, if you go to the be it home market or an Asian market, an international market, they're likely to have a whole aisle of mushrooms, dehydrated mushrooms that have been cultivated, and they ship them in from different places here in the country and out of the country too. Basically, what is a mushroom? The mushroom is the reproductive organ of the fungus, the mycelium. It's how they reproduce. The mushroom grows up, it drops spores down out of its gills. The spores take into the wind and they go everywhere, and they go on a search to find a suitable diet, a suitable source for their diet, so they can eat, grow baby mushrooms and reproduce some more. The the mushrooms are no different than an apple that falls off the tree, and it's the seed bearing fruit. It's the reproductive organ. They have spores instead of seeds. So there's billions of spores in each mushroom, and it's a game of numbers. Maybe only 2 or 3 spores are actually going to find the suitable environment that they want, but after billions and billions of spores, the odds, however slim they are, nature does find a way. So, if you want to get out, you need to know where to go looking. Mushrooms grow on 6 of the 7 continents. Does anybody know where they don't grow at? Antarctica, Antarctica, the frozen, desolate tundra. They do not grow there. At least nobody's found any there yet, but they don't send too many people out looking for them. The best place for you to get started is in your own backyard. Driving up and down the street, don't get in a wreck, but if you just kind of keep your eye out, there are mushrooms that are quite large and easy to spot. If you see what looks like a large cotton ball on the side of the tree, that's a good indication that you found a lion's mane mushroom. Lion's manes are one of the 5 functional mushrooms, and I've seen quite a few of them just driving down the street. Old trees where the limb's falling off and there's a knot where the limb used to be. A lot of times you can see, that's a good spot to look to find them in a lion's mane mushroom. But like I said, your backyard is the perfect place to get started. You're not going to get lost, and if you do, it's your own fault. But there's chickweed, uh, the little purple. When you look out over the field and it's all purple and what have you, that's purple dead nettle most likely. You got purple dead nettle. There's creeping Charlie, and there's another one out there. I can't remember it at the moment, but there's a lot of things in your yard. Has anybody grabbed a dandelion and tried to give it to somebody older when they were a kid, and the adults like, oh, that's just a weed. It's not, well, it is a weed, but it's not a weed, but we only call it a weed because we think that it's a nuisance of a plant. The dandelion is actually edible from the top of the flower all the way to the bottoms of the roots. Back in the Civil War days, when they were running low on different supplies and what have you, they would forage and they would find different things to use instead of their basic necessities that they were used to. Instead of coffee, because there was a shortage of coffee, you could use chicory roots. They use different barks off trees. You can take dandelion roots. You can dehydrate them, wash them clean, grind them up, and you can use those for a different coffee. Acorns, you leach the tannins out of acorns, and you make it into. If you use a hot water treatment, it's more like a cornmeal that you use. If you use the cold water treatment, it's more like a flour that you can use for breads and what have you. And before the English came over the pond and colonized, the Indians used a lot of the different resources. They would gather up the acorns and they would process these, and that was one of their sources of food. And acorns are really cool. There's a lot of information out there about acorns, but there's a lot of things that you can make with acorns, pancakes, and like I said, breads, all kinds of really cool stuff. But so back onto the subject of getting started foraging, you need some things to go foraging. How many? We got Easter coming up. How many have ever looked for Easter eggs? That's foraging. You take a basket. I keep paper bags in the bottom of my basket in case I want to keep something separated from everything else. And you need a knife. These are basically the only 2 things that you need, and a pair of eyes to go foraging.
And good arms to climb.
Yes, sometimes the mushrooms do get pretty high. If you got a rambunctious child, they can go get it for you. At my age, it's not a good idea to go climbing 20 foot up into the trees anymore. I'm not as resilient as when I was 5 and I fell out that tree. So don't walk around like this looking for mushrooms. People are gonna go, oh my God, there's a weirdo walking around with a all the drops on you. The mushrooms are gonna see it too, and they're gonna well. So put your knife up. If you fall, it's really bad because you hurt yourself out in the woods, and you got to stumble back to the car if you're by yourself. Usually use a buddy system. When they teach you that when you're in grade school and you go on field trips, pick a buddy and go with them, keep each other safe. I was actually and I know what you're thinking. Oh, there's no chance you're really gonna do. Okay, I was out in Shelby Forest. I stepped off the trail. It was only a few feet off the trail, and I stepped right onto a rusty nail that was sticking out of a block where they had done some work on reconstructing one of the footbridges. The nail went all the way through my foot. I was by myself, so I had to limp about a mile to get back out of the poplar tree trail. So it's not fun. But like I said, mushrooms grow everywhere. And a lot of people, they're like, well, when is mushroom season? But the thing is that that's not the question. That's not the correct question. There's not a mushroom season. There's 4 different seasons, and different mushrooms like the different seasons. Different mushrooms like the different seasons. And right now we're into morel season. So that's what everybody's looking for. And if you're on Facebook and you're on the Memphis Mushroom Foragers Facebook group, the one that I started, you will see a lot of people around Memphis, Shelby County, the tri-state area that are posting their finds, and there are several of them a day. So if you're looking for morels, which are the #1 foraged mushroom in the world, everybody knows what a morel is. They're one of the hardest mushrooms that I've found to find, but they're out there. And people are putting 20, 30 pictures, all kinds of pictures up there, goodness and deliciousness. After this season, this spring season, you're going to move into summertime and it starts warming up, and you'll get different kinds of mushrooms. The mushrooms like different temperatures. I forget what the guy called it. The different changes of the seasons and the different things that are waking up in nature and starting to grow.
When's the best time to get chicken in the woods?
Chicken in the woods they usually find in late summer.
Okay.
Late summer, early autumn. But that's another good one too. Those are easy to find driving down the road in Shelby Forest. If you drive slow enough and you got it, you're up in a truck, you can do what I call chicken hawking. And you just drive real slow and you look for flashes of oranges. And it looks like a neon orange on the bottom of the tree or wherever it's growing. Like I said, that's one of the easier ones to find.
Audubon Park also has a whole lot of them.
I used to go there when I was a kid with that nice Audubon night.
Yeah, right over there. If you live in this area, that's the place to find chicken in the woods.
I hear you. So next, like I said, the second most foraged mushroom is the chanterelle, and they're a lot easier to find than the morels. The morels tend to, the pattern of them, you'll step on it before you even see it. Next season when the chanterelles come out, they're orange and yellow, so they're much easier to find. And they don't tend to hide as much, but they do tend to hide. After summertime, you're going to get a lot of different mushrooms. Autumn time, you're going to find more hen of the woods, chicken of the woods too. When I first started, I couldn't find any help separating everything out, so it was just a big mass of information. Don't try to look for everything in this book. Trim it down to find out what's in season first. A very good way to find out what's in season is to simply look on the websites or look on the Facebook group page and find out what everybody else is getting. Like I said, right now, everybody's showing pictures of their morels that they've been getting out of Shelby Forest, and pretty soon that'll stop. You might find some pictures of some oyster mushrooms, but this time of year, it tends to be really tough to find anything. Uh, so instead of looking for mushrooms, I tended to start to look for plants and fruits and vegetables. Uh, so your resources that you're going to want to use when you're looking for mushrooms, because once you find your mushrooms, the different seasons for your mushrooms, the different places you look mushrooms, and you finally find something and you don't know what it is, you're going to want to identify it. This is a really good book to get you started. The Complete Mushroom Hunter. Gary Linkoff, the guy uh, that wrote this book, recently passed away a few years ago, and this is an awesome book to get started and just the basics. This one you can read through, and it'll tell you again where to look, when to look, what to use to go looking, the different clothes that you need on. Uh, don't go in shorts in the springtime because you're going to find uh, stinging nettle. And after a few steps in the stinging nettle, your legs are going to start to itch and be on fire, and you're going to be like, "Oh my god!" And I'm going to be like, "Oh my god, stinging nettle! Yeah, grab some of that. Wood nettle's good too, man. It's nutritious." But you're going to be like, "Oh, my legs are on fire, man. It's like I've rolled around in this attic in all the insulation, and it supposedly it's good for like the different things like arthritis and what have you, like the bee stings and what have you. I don't know, but so like I say, your different resources to help you identify your mushrooms. You're going to want to take pictures of it. Take pictures of the top, the side, the bottom, uh, where you got it. Did you get it on the ground? Did you get it off a tree? Take a picture before you pick it. Show the base of it where it's connecting to the tree. But when you flip it over, that's like the face of the mushroom. You need to take pictures of that. Cut it in half. It's called a cross section. Take a picture of that where you cut it in half and what it looks like on the side. Excuse me. And because there's small details that you might not see yet because you're kind of new to it, but after you've done it for a minute and you start seeing the side of the stem and the different little bumps on it, or the different stretch marks, or the ridges, or what have you, and how the gills are connecting to the stem or not connecting, if there's a ring around it, there's a lot of different small things that you will not notice. Uh, and you'll be looking for something, and when you finally do find it, everything will line up. That it says in the book, the details and comments about it. This is what it's supposed to look like. These are, if you take a mushroom and you cut it and it starts turning a different color, that tells you something about it. The spore print of the mushroom, that often it doesn't really, there's a lot of them there's only a certain few colors, and there's a lot more mushrooms, I think. But there's variations of the color, and they will help you to figure out what if it's that mushroom that you're looking for, or if it's a poisonous look-like, because they'll have completely different spore prints. And like I said, when you cut it open, like the chanterelles, you'll find orange chanterelles, and then you'll find other mushrooms called jack-o'-lanterns. And if you cut a chanterelle open, it's completely white on the inside. You cut a jack-o'-lantern open, and it looks like a creamsicle on the inside. It's a very dead giveaway, but one of them is a yummy edible, and the other one's going to make you wish you never touched mushrooms. So, like I said, the Facebook groups on Facebook were that was one of the best places that when I would go out in the woods, actually find something. Going out in the woods, finding something, your field guides and the internet are just the best resources that you could have. I didn't find a group or anything. That's why I made the group. I do help. I do forays at different times. I've been kind of slow right now. It's been winter. I'm doing kind of blah, blah, blah. But I will be adding some to the roster soon and taking folks out. It's really a short introductory thing. Uh, I try not to identify every little thing. People want me to identify turkey tail 15 different times. It's kind of, it's not edible, folks. You don't need to know every single mushroom when you go out there and look. Like I said, find out what's in season. Uh, your field guide before you go out. It's really nice to just flip through and see the different mushrooms that are in this area and in the region. And when you go out, they'll be fresh in your mind, and you see one, and you're like, oh, whoa, I seen this one in the book. So you can start flipping through, and that will get you. And what you think it's this, then you turn around, you take all your pictures, put it online on a couple of different Facebook groups, and they'll tell you what it is, what it's not. Be careful because don't ever take one person's advice and use that as the word, because I've several times come across and said, no, that's not what that is, it's something else. And they wanted to argue, and it was what I said after they had done, oh, those are Shannon trails. No, they weren't. They were jack-o'-lanterns, and the person did not want to eat them. So after you go out in the woods and after you go out in your backyard and start, you can go to, if you go to the woods and what have you, you don't have to go deep into the woods. A lot of times I like to go out to the campgrounds out Shelby Forest and just skirt the very edge of the campgrounds, and I'll just go all the way around it. You keep the campsite right there in case you're ready to go. You just go to the car, get in, and go on. And you have plenty of room to go around the ring, and you can't get lost if you keep the campgrounds in sight right here too. And I found really prize mushrooms right very close to the car and the campsite and what have you. When you get better and more secure in mushroom hunting, be careful of different snakes and different animals that live in the woods. It's their home. You're in their living room. Don't step on them. Don't try to, hurt them. If somebody come into your home and tried to hurt you, you're going to try to hurt them back. Just leave them be. They'll go about their business. You go about yours. Again, you don't want to be alone. Use the buddy system if you can. And one of the critters get after you, and Lord forbid a snake bites you, and you've got to get back by yourself, walk over a mile. It's not a fun thing to do. So be aware there are different things out there.
Might be a good time to mention that cell phones don't work out of Shelby Forest.
Oh yeah, you have zero cell phone service. If you do get a signal, you better say what you gotta say quick. You don't know how long it's gonna last. Hello? Hello?
Is there a special way to cut the mushrooms?
No, it depends on the different mushrooms. Huh? When you're harvesting, it doesn't. You can pull it straight up. You can chop it off as close as you can. Most of the time, I'll pull it up as firmly as I can without pulling any of the mycelium up, and then I'll scrape the bottom of it off. Mushrooms have been growing they've been around for longer than the trees have been around. So they figured out how to survive. You're not going to go out there and completely decimate any species of mushrooms, by going and picking up every one and grabbing it and just yanking it up by the mycelium. If you disturb the mycelium, all it's gonna do is keep growing, and it might flush a little bit more right there where you disturbed it. But like I said, you're not gonna harm anything and it's just like picking apples off of the tree. You're not gonna hurt the tree by eating all the apples. It's just gonna grow more next year. You're welcome.
What is the mycelium?
Mycelium. So when the spores fall off of the gills of the mushroom, the tubes, the teeth of the mushroom, different mushrooms have different ways of dropping spores. But basically the gills, the spore bearing surface, when they drop the spores off and the spores find an appropriate piece of wood to eat, and it finds another like genetically similar spore, they will start growing a little string of hyphaea, and it's like a little white string, and it will multiply and start branching it out. And as it grows and gets bigger, the hyphaea becomes a mycelial mass, and that's the actual organism that sprouts the mushroom. Okay, so the hyphaea formed the mass of the organism, and the mass is called a mycelial mass. It's mycelium, mushroom mycelium. And that's what actually grows the mushrooms. And it actually, mushrooms are, what they eat is wood. They break down the living material back into the ground, back into the earth, so that it's a recycling thing. If there were no mushrooms, then the trees that died and fell over would just keep stacking up. Anybody else? Yes.
What are your favorite benefits to eating mushrooms?
The nutritional. There's more nutrition in most of the mushrooms that you're going to get in the forest than you will in the mushrooms that are in the store. So not on, okay, so also a little trick with your mushrooms, and these even work with the store-bought mushrooms. If you take your mushrooms and flip them over and expose the gills or the spores to the sun, it increases the vitamin D exponentially. So the longer you let it sit in the sunlight, up to a point, but the longer you let it sit, the more it's gonna vitamin boost the vitamin D in it.
Did you say even with the store-bought button mushrooms?
Yeah, well, I mean, the portobellos are just let to sit longer and to open up. The button mushrooms are just the portobello mushrooms that haven't developed and matured as much as the bigger ones. But if you can get the gills, if you can get that veil covering, if you can get it away, but yeah, they'll do. Yeah, but
Cool. I was gonna say, I've noticed on my raised garden beds that I have mushrooms growing on the outside of it. Is that something that you think would be edible, or?
it would depend on the
Depends on what kind of
mushrooms.
mushroom it is.
It would
But
depend
it's
on.
really pretty. I mean, it has all
Right.
the different rings and.
Yeah, it would really depend on which mushroom it is. Some of them that are that are associated with the garden are either poisonous, or like if they're ink-cap mushrooms, they've got a compound in them that it reacts to the alcohol in your system. They use the similar compound in the drunk driving pills when the people aren't supposed to be driving, and they give them the pill as a deterrent. So that if they drink, they'll get violently ill. And there's the same chemical compound in ink-cap mushrooms and some of that family of mushrooms that, like I say, you don't want to be drinking 2 days before, 2 days after. So, but the thing about it is, if you do see mushrooms in your garden,
I was gonna say this one out is kind of like the one that was before that one. Yeah, similar similar to that, but on the board of them.
Yeah, well, that one's, you get turkey tail mushrooms, false turkey, trichaptan, violet tip polypores, and they're really too leathery to eat. So, but
They make very good teas.
But the turkey tail, you can use it to make a medicinal tea. Turkey tail is one of the 5 functional mushrooms. Functionally, they've got a health, an extreme health benefit, and they're used more for that health benefit than for actually eating nutrition. But there are some that you can eat for the nutrition. Like I said, the lion's mane is one of the 5 functional mushrooms. Turkey tail, like he was saying, is one of the 5 functional mushrooms. You can simmer it. You don't want to boil it because you'll kill the medicine parts in it. But you can simmer it into a tea, and it's supposed to have anti-cancer properties. So and like Paul Stamets, and you can either love him or hate him if you're in the mushroom world. Some people are like, oh, he's just a salesman. He's trying to sell his mushrooms. But he tells the story of his mother having some type of cancer, and he started giving her capsules of ground up turkey tail mushrooms, like 6 capsules a day, and she had like stage 4 or 5 cancer, and they're like, and this was like so many years ago. They had given her so many months to live, and she's still alive, and she's full remission or whatever. I don't know. That's just the story that he tells. But even though they've sent samples out to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital to use out there, and I've actually asked some of the doctors out there, and they're like, yeah, they sent it out here for us research, So I mean, there's different than like so. Off of and since we're on the medicinal properties thing, you've got, has anybody found elderberries?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All the time. You make elderberry syrup with them? Definitely, yeah, make elderberry syrup. It's really good. Elderberry jelly. But elderberries are really good for cold and flus and coronaviruses like that. I don't know about the coronavirus 19 or whatever, but from what I hear, it does help, and it does help guard your system and support your system to keep it away from you, and anything that's going to give me a benefit and taste good too, why not? And like I said, again, the mushrooms, the oyster, I try to eat oyster mushrooms a lot because I've got issues with my blood pressure, and if you heard that if you eat 2 servings a week of oyster mushrooms, it's like the same as taking blood pressure medication, but it's natural, so there's no adverse side effects. Except if you don't cook your mushrooms all the way, you get an upset stomach because there's a chemical in most mushrooms in the cell structure. It's the same as what's in crab shells and lobster shells, called chitin, and it will give you an upset stomach. This is why you want to cook your mushrooms all the way very thoroughly. Some mushrooms, like beefsteak mushrooms, and I've heard there's other mushrooms that you can eat raw, but like the store-bought ones you can eat raw, but I tend to not. I tend to like to cook my mushrooms. I tried cooking a bunch of oysters one time whole, and some of them didn't get all the way done, and I did get an upset stomach. But that's the worst that I've ever done. But like I said, springtime, there's not a whole bunch of mushrooms to go finding, so I started looking at other different things. And elderberry was pretty amazing with the different elderflowers, the different recipes that you can make with elderflowers. And I love watching things grow and transform, if you will, and metamorphosize like butterflies. But the elderberries, it's amazing because the white umbrellas pop out, and you can see them riding up and down the interstate, back roads, everywhere. tired of it when it's the season, because I go up down the road going, elderberry, 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 elderberry. And it's shocking how much people will get online and pay for something that you can go out there and get for free. This basket here I've filled up many times with different good stuff. See the white on there? Those are mushroom spores. I've had this basket pretty much the whole time, and state parks and what have you, they let you forage, but you need to go in with the mindset that you don't need to go up there and pillage the forest. I read somewhere that they consider a personal amount no more than a gallon. And like I said, you're not going to go out there and just completely wipe out a species. But I mean, if we keep doing it and keep doing it, it's going to be bare for a minute. And that's not cool to do in a nature reserve like a forest, a state forest, and what have you. But once you get your mushrooms, once you find your spot to find your mushrooms, you get your mushrooms, you take plenty of pictures of them, you get out there, you get your experience actually doing it. Bring your field guides. Your field guides are going to help immensely. There are some things in the field guides that you can read. There's a few pages up front about this much of it is actually, you know, to be read. The rest of it, you don't have to memorize everything that's out there. That's why we have field guides or catalogs. So people ask me, you know, now I've got these mushrooms and I've got them identified. They're supposed to be edible. They're like, what can I do with them? And basically the simplest answer is cook them and eat them. And then people ask me, well, how do you cook them? Well, how do you cook anything? You add heat, and there you go. Use your imagination. The go-to for foraging mushrooms is to saute them in butter, salt, pepper, and the garlic will really make the flavors come out. Chicken of the woods tastes like chicken. Oyster mushrooms don't taste like oysters. They have a slight seafood smell, and this is one of the identifying characteristics, and it's not a bad seafood smell. It's like, it smells like you're at the ocean getting ready to fish. It's a really nice sweet smell. But like I say, you use your imagination. I like to take and saute some mushrooms. Get me a Red Baron pizza or something from the grocery store. Throw them on top, throw it in the oven. I got a mushroom pizza from Cheese Pizza. And I'm the type of person, I don't know about you, but I like to put about $50, $75 worth of mushrooms on my pizza. And you're not going to find that at the grocery store. The maitakes, the hen of the woods that I see in the grocery store, about yay big, maybe as big as this plate here. If you get a nice fat one, I pulled them off the tree that are as big as a small bush. And I last mushroom festival, I grabbed one and sat there. I actually grabbed like 3 of them and chopped them up and put them in little brown bags and sold them $5, $10, 5 for a small bag, 10 for a big bag. Yeah.
What kind did you say that was, Kevin?
Huh?
What kind did you say that was?
Hen of the wood, the maitake mushrooms, and like I say, watch your seasons. Because when I first started looking, I didn't have any resources to really help me, so I was looking for hen of the woods mushrooms for like probably about 4 or 5 months till I finally gave up. And when I finally gave up, they were in season, and I found it on accident. I found a patch of blewit mushrooms, and blewit mushrooms, like, if you know the characteristics of them, it'll help you out a lot. Blewit mushrooms, they like to grow in leaf litter when all the leaves start falling and you get the thick mats of leaves all over the ground. Well, they like to grow underneath it, and they grow in big groups and clusters. So I found them, and I'm going around in a circle and then expanding the circle as much as I can. And I'm not finding any more, but I look over and look like a small bush sitting next to my knee right here. And it's this big, huge maitake mushroom. And I probably got about 13 or 14 mushrooms that were from the size of this basket up to the size of a bush, each one of them. And I chopped them up and I froze a bunch of them, and Mom really got mad when she had to throw a bunch of frozen mushrooms because I left them in a freezer and she needed the room for them. But other than that, I mean,
What was the
is there
name
any
of that
questions?
mushroom that was so big?
What's that?
What was the name of that?
Maitake.
Maitake.
Maitake. Maitake. They're also called hen of the woods, or sheep's head, or Grifola frondosa.
What's when are you doing your next foraging trip?
It'll be within the in the next couple of weeks. I'll put something on there in the next couple of days and let everybody know.
Contact information?
Huh?
With contact information so we can get hold of you?
Yep.
What's the name of your Facebook?
Now, if you want my contact information, I drive a horse carriage downtown, a Cinderella horse carriage, and this is my business card. Gives you company information, gives you my information. If you look up Kevin and Roscoe with the ampersand on Facebook, I got a page there. I don't do a whole bunch with it, but you can either call me just to ask questions or text me pictures. People do it all the time. But if you need my services downtown, here's my number. If you want to get in touch with me, here's my number. Like I said, Memphis Mushroom Foragers, you can ask a question on there, and I'm gonna see it. I check my page all the time. I had a rash of scam posts, I call it, that were putting stuff on my page, so I had to lock it down. Well, you had to have permission to comment and what have you, but they were posting pretty graphic stuff that wasn't family friendly, and so and when I had to lock it down, I'm having to yes, I kind of got to where I'm like yes, and I don't get on there and actually talk as much as I used to, but I'm trying to stop that and be more active on the page again. But it's really cool because there's like 3,500 people on there, and the different people are everybody's helping everybody out, and that's what I really wanted to get started. And like I said, I do put forays on there. A foray is a foraging trip, and really foraging is the most basic skill that we've got. Everybody says that, the oldest tradition, and I'm like, how did they pay for the oldest job? And it's like they had to have something, to trade. And this hunting and gathering was the most basic things that we started doing. It's one of the easiest things in the world. And if you like to go Easter egg hunting, you'll really love mushroom foraging because it's pretty cool when you come up on a, a jackpot and you're going home with something really good to eat. And there's a lot of different stuff to find. But
I have a question about dehydration. So have you dehydrated any mushrooms, and how do you do it?
there are different methods. You can either, if you've got a gas stove, you can just crack the door open, set them in on a cookie sheet, and let them sit there over the time. That pilot light is going to keep it dry in there. It's going to dehydrate them over some time. A dehydrator from Walmart, slice them, stick them on the dehydrator. You can slice them, put them, take a needle and thread and string them like you're doing popcorn for the Christmas tree and cranberries and what have you. And hang them around the top of your rooms because it stays dry up there. If you take something and stick it on the top of the refrigerator, that's a good spot for it to dry. If you take it and just put it on like a paper bag and put a fan in front of it and let the fan blow on it for a few days. It's low heat, so it won't deteriorate your mushroom, it won't discolor it so much. And the fan blowing on it will eventually dry it off. Now, it does take a lot, quite a bit longer. It usually takes like 4 or 5 days to a week to dry something like that, but you can dry whole mushrooms sometimes. Sometimes you need to cut them in half depending on how big they are. You get one that's big and you're not going to do it no matter how hard you try. But dehydrating, that's just removing the water so that you can store it for a period of time. Some mushrooms you don't want to dehydrate. You use a different form of preservation like freezing. Chanterelle mushrooms, you can saute them and then take it, freeze the sauteed mushrooms, and then just pull it out, reheat it, and there it is. Store it in butter. Like I was telling somebody, you take the chanterelles and put them in vodka, and when they all drop down to the bottom, they're ready. You can just pull them out of the vodka and eat them.
I just wanted to add that attic is a really good place to try mushrooms.
What's that?
Attic.
The attic, yeah, it's warm in there and it's very dry. And like I said, that's all you're trying to do is to remove the water because the water is what actually starts the rotting process.
How accurate would you say the community is on that Facebook group?
I'm sorry?
How accurate would you say that the community is?
How accurate is it?
Yeah,
they're pretty good. I've got a couple people that actually had school training and didn't just go out and teach themselves through trial and error. And if I don't know the answer to what it is, a lot of times, because if it ain't edible, I don't care what it is, you know. If I can't eat it, you know, if you want to eat it, you need to know what it is. And if you don't care to eat it, then you just know it's not edible. You keep going, you know. But
so
you
if you go with the mindset of I'm looking for something to eat, and this matches that profile, I just want confirmation. If it's something that is edible,
right,
then it's
one
in the community.
once you get a bunch of people to identify the species of mushroom for you, then you take that identification, you get online and you look up that mushroom that they identified for you and you find out for yourself, you know what I'm saying, the different distinguishing characteristics, and you line everything up. The first 2-3 times that I found different things, I've never eaten them. I've always just identified it until about the 3rd or 4th time when I finally did find it again. Then I would actually try it. But I would find something 3-4 times before, you know, I actually tried it because I'm trying to make sure that's what it is. You know, I'm not going to rely on a bunch of people that are, you know, on the internet because I don't know if they're, you know, they're just one of them people that likes to be, you know, oh, let's see if he's dumb enough to really try this, you know.
I can't remember where I saw this. You know, you can't believe everything on the internet.
Right.
It said something about if you see red on the gill section.
There's old wives' tales. The mushrooms that you get in the store, they're called agaricus bisporus. We know them as button mushrooms and portobello mushrooms. But if you take and cut those actually bruise red.
Good.
So but now it does the bruising can be an identifying characteristic. Some of them bruise red. If you find meadow mushrooms in the summertime, agaricus mushrooms, and those actually are cousins to the ones that you buy in the store, but they like fields and what have you. and they've got pink gills that turn brown with age. And the ones that you've got to really watch out for will stain neon yellow when you scratch them. They'll bruise neon yellow, and it's a bright yellow. But the ones that are edible and are delicious, the meadow mushroom, the agaricus not Bosporus, agaricus, campestris, and the meadow mushrooms. Uh, but but the pink bottom mushrooms, if they don't bruise yellow, they're more than likely good to eat. But if they're bruised in bright neon yellow, you might want to take a look at the neon yellow staining agaricus species mushrooms, because one of those is poisonous. So, and the staining will help you, but different mushrooms stain different colors. Some of them that do stain red in the bolete section, they're not good to eat. But again, you have different mushrooms, different characteristics. But there's no set anything. Back in the 1800s, they would say if you put a silver dime in with your mushrooms, and if it turns black, then they're poisonous. And a bunch of people got real sick because of that one. But there's a guy on there on YouTube that's got a Facebook channel called that's got a YouTube channel called Learn Your Land, and his name is Adam Harrington, and he was a big resource that I watched. He was really good with explaining the different mushrooms, what this species is. He would tell you the different look-alike species that you wanted to stay away from. But what he wouldn't do is trail off and start telling you stories about his life and how he had this friend and that friend, and they went over here. But he stays on subject, and he tells you the pertinent information that you need to know and what to watch out for and what have you. So it's really good, and there's different YouTube's awesome. There's so many different mushroom enthusiasts that want to get out there and help share their love for something. That it's the old man of the woods. He's a really good one too. But there's a lot of resources out there. Like I say, YouTube, Facebook. Get your field guides to go and it's really neat to go through and see what you can find and actually get out there. And when you find it, like I said, the Grifola frondosa, the sheep's head, hen of the woods, maitake. The Japanese call it a dancing mushroom because the first time you find one, you break out into a dance. And yes, it's true. But anybody else? Like I said, when you find your mushrooms and you bring them home and you're wondering how to cook them, use your imagination. If you chop them up, throw them in a soup, that boiling water, that simmering water is going to cook them in about 10, 15 minutes. Soups are great. People ask me all the time, how do you eat wood ear mushrooms? I slice them into slivers, pop them in a soup. And it's a little crunchy little texture in there. If you've eaten sweet and sour soup from your local Japanese restaurant or Chinese restaurant, then you probably already have them.
The Matt Grocer inside of Crosstown, if you're ever in there, I had some of the best mushroom soup yesterday. It's mushroom and truffles.
Right.
I got 2 big buckets.
Right.
So you did a really nice job with the soup.
And you'll be surprised because, like I said, the different mushrooms, everybody's like, oh, I don't like mushrooms because I don't like the texture. I don't like the taste. It's like, well, you haven't tried mushrooms then. Because there's several different kinds, there's several different textures, there's several different tastes. Some of them taste like apricot, some of them have a crisp texture, some of them have a mushy texture. It's amazing to get out there. It's like when you discover gardening and you start growing different kinds of cucumbers and different kinds of squash and different kinds of tomatoes, and they all taste like a tomato, but there's a different quality to it. And the mushrooms are the same thing. It tastes like a mushroom, but they don't taste the same. You know what I'm saying?
Are you at the mushroom festival that they have sometimes there in Shelby?
Normally I am, yeah. Yeah, I was, I had a couple days that I wasn't able to get there because work was kind of interfering last year. But the last day, I did come in the evenings, and in the last day, I was there pretty much the whole day. And that's when I went out and I grabbed a couple big hen of the woods mushrooms and chopped them up because that's what everybody wanted was freshly foraged mushrooms. So, I mean, but.
Can you grow mushrooms?
Yes,
Yep.
I can't because my place is too dusty. You need a very sterile environment, and that's what I was saying again. People are asking me all the time. They're like, "It's good to have a sterile environment to get my mushrooms going. Why doesn't the mushrooms in nature?" Well, I'm like, "Well, you want to try it about 2 billion times, and the 1 or 2 times it finally does work." They're like, "No, like we better sterilize everything." Because the mushrooms are working on a numbers basis, and you only see the ones out there that don't go wrong, that continue to grow until they're edible, visible, actually formed, and there's a lot of them out there that don't form right.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Y'all come get my card and see my services
Be
down
sure to
there,
get a
just
card.
find out. Like I say, you
I
can
wanna
text
find a
me.
hen in the woods.
You want
No, not, but I mean.
horses?
Thank you. And don't forget, there's some coupons in the back if you want to get at the cotton mill. Shop right there.